Tonight's episode of Fireside is brought to you by Legends of Belize. Visit legendsofbelize.com to learn more.
Hello, everybody. You're listening to Fireside Paranormal Podcast. My name is Jordan Cline, and as always, I have a fun show planned out. My guest tonight is Jenny Pugh. We're going to talk about a lot of really sweet stuff, but before that, I got a few announcements. Newsly is an audio app for iOS and Android. It picks up web articles about the most trending topics on the web at any given moment and reads them to you in a natural human voice. For the first time in the history of the internet, the entire web becomes listenable. Browse articles from topics you choose and start playing. Stop scrolling, start listening. You can follow any topic as specific as you'd like, from sports, science, to Bitcoin, or even the Kardashians. It'll find you the latest articles and read them to you aloud. They also have podcasts, so explore trending podcasts from over 50 countries. My show, Fireside Paranormal Podcast, is there too. Download and use Newsly for free now from www.newsly.me or from the link in the description, and use promo code FIRESIDE, where the eyes are ones. I'll also put that in the description, and you receive 1 month free premium subscriptions. I also want to talk about American Paranormal Magazine. The July issue is featuring the show here, so really want to encourage you to check it out. They did a 3-page spread on the show, so I'm really excited about it. They have an end-of-the-year award called an Owlie Award. I sure would like to win it, so if you don't mind going over to the website paranormalzine.com and giving us a vote, I'd appreciate it.
Legends of Belize is a series about mythical creatures that dwell in the jungles and waters of Belize. The Belizean legends are captured, documented, and preserved like never before in a comprehensive art series and books with fully colored and detailed images of fine art by artists, authors, and award-winning animators Dismas and Grissy G. Discover the supernatural creatures that await deep in the jungles, such as the mysterious dwarf called Tata Duende with backwards feet known to rip the thumbs off of trespassers, or the beautiful shape-shifting woman known to locals as the Ishtabai, who seduces drunks to never be seen again. These creatures and many more can be found in the Legends of Belize books. Learn about the cryptozoological, paranormal, and unexplained creatures that haunt Belize. Be fascinated, be terrified. Belize. Legend of Belize books are available in print and ebook. Buy your copy from your favorite online bookstores such as Amazon, KDP, Apple Books, and many more. Also be sure to visit legendsofbelize.com.
I do want to thank Legends of Belize for sponsoring the show. If you out there would like to be a sponsor of the show, just send me an email, firesideparanormalpodcast@gmail.com, and we can talk about it. I have 2 events coming up really soon. They're both at the West Virginia State Penitentiary in Moundsville, West Virginia.
July 23rd and 24th at the West Virginia State Penitentiary in Moundsville, West Virginia is the Tri-State Exotic Animal Expo and Wonders Oddities Expo, featuring some of the most amazing animal breeders, both in West Virginia and as far away as North Carolina, including 3 awesome tarantula breeders with the largest variety of tarantulas available under one roof within the state. Check out some of the most talented oddities artists showcasing the jewelry, wet specimens, bones, taxidermy, and one hell of a variety of other amazing oddities, all available for sale. There will also be mediums, palm readers, and tarot card readers. The Fireside Paranormal Podcast will be on location recording your ghost stories and folk legends. Even Scooby-Doo and Odie the Wallaby will be there for free photo ops. And for the more adventurous, you can have your pictures taken with the Pride Exotics Gator. Don't miss the event everyone will be talking about long after the summer is over. Come on out to the Tri-State Exotic Animal and Oddities Show at the West Virginia State Pen in Moundsville, West Virginia, July 23rd and 24th, if you're not too scared.
On August 13th, Paranormal Quest presents the 2022 West Virginia Penitentiary Paracon. Special guests are Paranormal Quest, Paranormal Nightmare, Heather Taddy, Adelaide's Haunted Horizons, and former West Virginia Penitentiary guards. There will be authors, psychics, readings, crystals, and all things paranormal. This event is 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Tickets are $20 online at wvpentours.com/Paracon or $25 at the door. I will be at both of these events with my recording equipment set up. I'd love to hear your featured stories face to face. I'm going to have some merch set up as well. I'd love to get to know you, love to meet you, love to see some new teams out there. I can't wait for it. I would like to thank all of you that have been sending in your team highlights through email. I've been going through them. I really enjoy them. I want to highlight this one because it's a featured story / team highlight all in one. So this week we're going to be featuring Jacob.
Hello, Fireside Paranormal Nation. My name is Jacob Kuyvenhoven, and I run Perception Paranormal, a YouTube channel and investigation group based out of Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I'm currently the only member of my group. However, I am also a member of Ghost Hunt Alberta, our provincial paranormal group. Today's experience will be a personal one for me from my childhood, and written with descriptive emphasis for your earholes' spooky pleasure. It was a Friday night, and my parents had gone out on a date, leaving my twin sisters, 18 years old, and I, 14, home alone. We had just finished dinner, and while Justine and I were washing the dishes, I noticed out of the corner of my eye Danielle, my other sister, head downstairs. Moments later, my Nintendo Entertainment System turned on, and Justine and I could hear Mario running around, breaking bricks, collecting coins, etc. Justine turned to me with a confuddled look on her face, questioning, "Is Danielle playing your Nintendo?" The reason she was so confused was that, still to this day, neither of my sisters play video games. I, however, was even more confused, as my gaming system was upstairs just down the hall from us. I gazed at my sister like an owl, eyes perfectly circle. "I thought I saw her go downstairs," I quietly exclaimed. The hairs stood up on our arms. Huddled together, we stealthily made our way to the top of the stairs. "Danielle, are you down there?" I whispered, as not to alert the intruder. We waited bated breath for what felt like hours before a response. "Yeah? Why?" was all it took for Justine and I to rush down the stairs, tripping over our own feet. "There's someone upstairs playing Nintendo," we frantically squealed. Well, not the most horrifically impending statement I've ever had. It did hold weight in the moment. Danielle's eyes slanted, an obvious prank, she gandered. But we professed, "It's true, there's someone upstairs." Now, I don't recall the conversation that took place after this point, but we somehow came to the grand conclusion we needed to investigate this. Did we think it was the known ghost that haunted our house? Or did we need to prove to Danielle it wasn't a prank? This I don't remember. Together, the three of us climbed the stairs to the kitchen, the gaming music still resounding down the hall. Creeping through the kitchen, we peeked around the corner, our eyes fixated on the door at the end of the hall. The sound was coming from there, the exact room that held my gaming system. Someone was in the house. Tippy-toed, we began slinking down the hallway, each floor creak met with frozen limbs and filled lungs. The game kept playing louder and louder as we got closer and closer. Finally, we stood within reach. No mistaking the sounds coming from the other side of the door. I nervously gripped the handle, eyeing my sisters on either side. With a nod, I abruptly burst through the door. We stood in silence. Literal silence. Gazing blankly at an empty room. No people. No sound. The TV was turned off. The Nintendo was turned off. And the Nintendo was even unplugged from the wall socket. Justine began to scream in my right ear, Danielle in my left, as they scrambled down the hallway. The manliest of war cries bellowed from my chest. Certainly neither shrill nor shriek, as I swaggered behind them with no fear at all. Seriously, there's no fear. We sat outside the house for the next 2 hours, waiting for our parents to come home. No one has come forth in the last 25 years to tell us that this was a prank. And this took place during the mid-90s, before recorders and remote controls were abundant. So what do you think? Was a ghost playing my Nintendo Entertainment System? Or are we just a bunch of kids with an overactive imagination? Special thank you to Jordan Cline for allowing me to present this story to you. I hope you all enjoyed it. Take care.
Thank you so much, Jacob. And if you or your team want to be featured on the show, make sure you email me firesideparanormalpodcast@gmail.com, and I'd love to hear it. All right, I want to get to my guest. Join me by the fire as we welcome Jenny Pugh. They say the dead don't speak, but they do to Jenny Pugh. Jenny, you with us?
I'm here. Hello there, Jordan.
Hello. Thank you so much for joining me this week.
Well, it's my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me on your show.
Now, where are you coming in from? Because I hear the accent.
Yes, I'm in Milwaukee. No, actually, I'm a little further than that. I'm in East Yorkshire, in the beautiful countryside in the UK. So I'm in England.
Very
not
cool.
Not far from the city of Hull.
Now, is that a very spiritual area there? Is there a lot of action going on in the paranormal world?
There is. I mean, we have a werewolf locally called Old Stinker. I don't know if you've ever heard of him.
No.
Going back many years, there's a lot of legends around here. It's a very haunted area. We've got poltergeist, ghosts, and werewolves galore. So if you ever want to come over and visit and do a little bit of investigation, it's a great place to be. We've got a lot of history here because obviously England, 2,000 years of buildings, and the Romans and the Normans and the Vikings being here. So there's a lot of haunted buildings and properties and things to explore. So it's a great place to grow up as a young paranormal enthusiast.
That's really neat. And there is a lot of history there.
Yeah.
In the UK, especially, like, just in that area alone, so much history. I was actually talking from a lady. It's not, it's not where you're at. It's in Scotland, but her house was built in 1756.
That's quite late.
In the U.S., we became a country in 1770. So I was like, your house is older than my country.
I think my school I went to was built in, 1447.
Oh my gosh.
I grew up in York. I don't know if you heard of York. It's a medieval city. It's one of them. Well, it was the capital of England before London took over the title.
Really?
And it still has the Roman-built walls around it and medieval buildings and things. You can go. So it's actually like living in a museum when you're going around it. And I used to wander around there on a Saturday morning hunting for ghosts when I was a kid. Yeah,
that's
that
incredible.
Was.
Now, how did you get into being you? Like, you're a psychic medium. We're talking about astral projection today.
Yes.
And past lives. How did we get to that stage in your life?
Well, I've been psychic since I was a kid, and I kind of knew things that I didn't know how I knew them, and see things that other people didn't see. And then I remember I must have been about 8 years old, and we'd gone for a day out in a forest, and Dolby Forest, actually, not far from here. And we parked the car, the whole family had gone off in the trees and gone for a good romp through the trees and things. And then it suddenly started to get dusk, and it was coming down pretty fast. And my parents were like, "Oh, where did we leave? Where's the car park again?" And it was just like all trees around us. And I remember to this day just standing there and going and just pointing in this direction off to the right and going, "It's over there." And I remember thinking, I just knew the direction. I didn't know how I knew or where. And strangely enough, the whole family followed me. They went, "Okay, she knows."
Well, let's trust the 8-year-old.
Straight to the car as the sun set, and it got very dark in that spooky forest. But it's when I grew up, then with a keen interest in the paranormal, and I'd buy the horror and paranormal books as a kid and watch all the TV, the Hammer House of horror films, and scare myself silly and things like that. But it just sort of blossomed, and then as I grew older, I started investigating and learning different things, sort of like tarot cards and numerology and healing, Reiki healing and things like that. And it's just once you open the door to spirit and the spirit world, they don't let you shut it again. It's like you open the door a crack to have a look through, and they fling it wide open and say, come on in, we're going to take you and show you all these wonderful things. And I mean, since then, I mean, now a few months ago, I saw a goblin sitting on a wheelie bin outside in the car park. And I go like, okay, what's that? That's looks like a goblin. Probably is a goblin if it looks like one. And I just pulled the car up, come home, Friday afternoon, exhausted. I look up, this thing's looking at me, sitting there with big eyebrows, staring at me, swinging his legs on the end of the wheelie bin. And I'm watching, thinking, I've got to get out of the car past him, get to the house. And he climbed down. I was just watching, and he went under my car. And I'm thinking the neighbours are going to think I'm crazy. But anyway, I opened the car door and I just ran for the house.
Now, what does a goblin look like?
Have you ever seen Harry Potter?
Yeah.
You know the Gringotts Bank. You know the chaps that work in there with the long noses and the little suits and stuff. Very similar. I was very surprised to see the long nose, the ears. And he had, but the thing that surprised me most is, as I was looking at him, I'm not thinking, oh my gosh, I'm seeing a goblin or whatever it is. I'm staring at him going, look at those silver buttons on his jacket. And he had a little vest on with these big, like, silver. I don't know how I knew they were silver, but I know they were silver. Silver buttons down his jacket. And I'm going, and I did a sketch of him afterwards. I rushed inside and then locked the door and bolted it and then and then did a quick sketch of what I'd seen, you know. But I mean, it's not unusual for me now to say, oh, I saw a fairy the other day, or saw an angel, I've talked to so-and-so, I've had famous people through from spirit, you know, and it's just second nature. And sometimes I forget when I'm talking to people that they don't have these experiences every day. So, you know, you have to tread a bit lightly and not scare them too much.
Now, these creatures, are they something that, you know, you see because of like abilities, or is that something that everybody can see if they wanted to? Like, how does the...
I think it's a case of being clairvoyant. It makes it easier for me to see them, but they can show themselves to anybody, because I've had friends and family members and members of the public I've spoken to at meetings and events have come up to me and said, I've seen this. I don't tell anybody else about it. And I say, don't worry about it. It's perfectly natural. There's a lot of people out there see fairies, but they don't tell people about it. So it's you know, I let into a secret here. They actually do exist. I've seen more than one. And I saw one in a pub, and I wasn't drinking either. And it was standing on the table in front of me doing a little dance around a candle. And that was the first one I ever saw, and that was a bit of a shock, to be honest. But they do appear to people that have no sort of so-called psychic ability. They appear to psychics. It's just being in the right place at the right time.
Now, what do elf or fairies look like?
Well, the first one I ever saw looked like, I couldn't see the body. The body looked like a little spiral of energy, is the best way I can describe it, like a little whirlwind whipping around. But attached to that were two perfectly formed, like dragonfly wings. Okay. And I could see every vein in the wing, and they were sort of shimmering. And I thought it was amazing. So I thought, oh, well, that's what a fairy's wings look like. And then I saw one actually just a couple of months ago in my mum's garden. And we were sitting in the summer house talking, chatting away, and I saw movement at the side of the flower border, and this little figure came out, and she was a little girl, and she's about 4 inches high, dressed in what looked like a white robe. I could just see bare feet in a white robe, and I thought, oh, that's strange. I'm assuming it's a fairy because she's only 4 inches big, but I couldn't see any wings. And she stepped out and she waved, and she turned around, and she was just under these little blue flowers. And as she turned around, I could see she had a pair of, and it looked like, do you have cabbage white butterflies in America? I'm not sure if you do or not. They're sort of rounded wings.
Okay.
But they were closed. They were tightly closed, the wings, as she turned around, so they were hidden. So it's kind of surprising. She expects it. If I was imagining it, I'm thinking I'm going to see a fairy. I think I'd see it like in the picture books. But no, it's always different. It always surprises you, you know. And I once saw an elf as well. I had one follow me home once from a psychic evening.
Really?
Yeah, I was sitting in this. I was watching another medium work in this little room with the audience, and all the way through the evening, my attention kept getting drawn from the medium to the exit sign, and it wasn't because she was a bad medium either, but there was like a green exit sign up on the wall. And I don't know why I kept looking up there. Anyway, at the end of the evening, she said to me, I wonder if any of you have spotted our little visitor. We've got an elf that's been sitting up on the sign watching me. And I went, oh, okay, that makes sense then. And as I left, I noticed she was laughing at me. And she says, you've got somebody, I spoke to her, and she said, you've got somebody following you. I said, what do you mean? She says, the elf that was up on the sign, he likes you. I noticed he was following you out the door. And I thought, oh, okay. Then, to cut a long story short, over the next few days, things started moving in the house. And I had at midnight, I had cupboard doors opening and creaking and things rustling in drawers and stuff. And I was under the duvet, you know, just out my wits. And then a few days later, I was just watching TV and I looked up, and standing by my front door, there was this figure, and he was about 3 foot tall. And he was dressed in green, and he had very, very, very thin leggings on, like stripy leggings, like you see in the cartoons.
Okay.
Real thin, like elf leggings. And he was holding a pair of candelabras and dancing with these candelabras in his hands. I'm looking at him going, okay, and you're doing this, why? And why am I seeing this? And just then the phone rang, and it was my mother. And she'd been to... what we call here a car boot sale, like a yard sale in America.
Okay.
And she said, oh, I've just been to this yard sale with your dad. And she says, you'll never guess what I looked at on the stall. And I went, I bet it was candelabras. And she went, how did you know that? I said, well, it's strange enough because I've just had an elf by my front door waving a couple at me. So, but I mean, I know it sounds strange, but that's everyday occurrence in this place. You know, it's you get used to it. But so anytime I see something new, I just I have this, you know, the I Spy books from what kids have back in the 60s and 70s. I have an I Spy book in my head, and it's the I Spy book of ethereal beings, I call it. And then I just tick the box when okay, I've seen an elf now. I've seen a goblin. There we go. Tick. I've seen I've seen pretty much. I haven't seen a unicorn, but you know, I'm open to options.
Well, there's still more day left.
There's a few more days left, yeah. So, but you know, over the years, it's just built up my experiences, and which I wrote a book about called Why Do Angels Have Wings? Available at Amazon. There we go. Quick little shout out there.
Absolutely.
But yeah, just building upon my abilities and spreading the word that, you know, you don't have to be worried about the fact that you might have seen an angel, or you might have seen a fairy, or your grandmother might have appeared to you in the middle of the night to say hello. You know, it's actually a natural thing, but we get scared about saying it out in public because we don't want people to laugh at us and point and go, oh, she believes in fairies. Well, I do. I've seen them. I know they're real, 100%. So
I do want to ask with the elf, facially, what did it look like? Was it like Dobby? Or
It was actually very much like Dobby, and I've got a theory. This is my theory, and I patented it. I think a lot of the children's illustrations from elves and all the rest of it, ethereal beings, it comes from, I think, like really old sightings of them, real sightings, and then it's become myth and legend and storybook characters. But it does look very much like Dobby. The long pointed chin, the long nose, long face, very thin. The first thing I thought when I actually looked at it wasn't, oh my God, there's an elf. It was, how can he stand up on legs that thin? They were like drinking straws. And I was just staring, thinking, how can he stand on legs that thin? And I thought, well, I'm actually looking at what am I looking at here? But yeah, it looks like what you'd see in the kids' cartoons, in the elf on the shelf and things.
Now, would you say that they, the way that you see them, would it be like as clear as you and I, or are they kind of see-through or an impression or?
Yeah, sometimes, same as you and I, solid. Yeah, just like seeing a kettle or a TV in the corner of the room, like that. Sometimes it looks like an impression, like an overlay, like when you're doing animation, like a Disney animation, when they used to use the overlays over a background, like that, sort of in the mind. But so it can vary. Sometimes it's like a really strong, out there in front of your image. Sometimes it's more internal, clairvoyant image. It just depends on the situation, and it's kind of down to them, really. It's not how I choose to see them, it's just how they appear and show themselves to me, But I once saw what I can only describe as a gnome under a rhododendron bush in somebody's garden, and I was amazed because him and his clothes looked like they were all made out of leather. He was really dark brown, like leathered skin and brown clothing, and he had these boots on, and he looked really cheesed off, and he was kicking the dirt under this bush, walking up and down. It's just when you see things you don't expect, they really stand out.
Now, did he have the tall pointy hat?
He had a hat on, but it wasn't tall pointy. It was more like folded over. It was more like a floppy hat. I think he looked depressed, to be honest. But the lady whose house it was very spiritual, and she was moving. And I wonder if sometimes, because the lady of the house was like leaving, that he wasn't very happy. I don't know, but that was the first time I've seen one of those.
Now I wonder, and a few weeks ago we had Barry Fitzgerald on in Ireland.
Yes.
And we were talking about how the Fae is it's a known entity in Ireland. And I'm guessing you being so close, it is a known thing, for you to deal with as well. In the U.S., we don't really, we think it very flighty. We oh yeah, okay, it's an elf, whatever. Like we don't think of that. That's not in our forefront of thought. Like here, if, cabinet doors were open and, things were going on, our brains would go, my house is haunted.
Yes, yeah.
Where you say, I got a little creature.
It was more because I'd seen this little guy like dancing around the room that kind of gave it away. But he might have saved my life, though, because one day my parents came to visit, and we were just about to go, and I went, I'll just grab my jacket. I walked in the front door, put the keys on the coffee table, ran upstairs, grabbed my coat, ran down, went for the keys, and they'd gone. And it took us 2.5 hours to find them. And the other side of the room, under the middle of the settee cushion, in the centre, where they couldn't have slipped down, you'd have to lift up the whole settee cushion, the couch, to put them under there. And it took us 2.5 hours to find these keys.
Wow.
And I wonder if that day maybe we would have had an accident or something that, they tried to stop us being involved in. But or it was just, being a pain. I don't know.
It could be a little of both.
It could a little both, maybe, yeah.
Like it could have, I'm going to save her, maybe a 5-minute delay. Nope, I'm going to mess with her.
But just another quick story, talking about how spirit can actually alter our lives and things and affect us. I actually did have my life saved by a guardian angel, spirit, whoever, the other side, once, because I was driving down the road and there was an object in the road and I stopped, and it was a little rabbit, unfortunately. And I was blowing my horn on the car and trying to get it to move, and it wouldn't move. And I thought, well, I'm going to have to move it myself because it won't move. And I was pulled over to the side of the road, and I went to open my car door, and I couldn't remember how to do it. And I remember looking at the handle on the door and thinking, what is that? I had my hand on it, and I couldn't remember what it was or how it worked. And I was very confused, sitting there looking at this door handle, thinking, I don't know what that is. How's it work? And the next second, it was like looking through a kaleidoscope, because I had a lorry and about 30 ton of steel hit me in the back of the car. And just at that moment, they wiped my brain, and I didn't know how to get out of a car. So it stopped me getting out and getting killed in the road.
Wow.
Oh, I know. It pushed me way down the road and lifted the back of the car off the subframe, and I had to be cut out and all that sort of thing.
Wow.
But at that moment, I don't know how they did it, but they just froze my brain, and I couldn't remember how to use a car door, a lever on a car door. But it just shows how spirit do watch over us, and they will try and steer us in the right direction, because they obviously didn't want me on that side so soon.
That's
so.
incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, think about what could have happened.
Yeah. Yeah, and when the police came to see me in hospital, luckily I wasn't even badly hurt. I just had a couple of cuts. He said that the impact had been on the petrol tank and it should have exploded. And I went, okay, thank you for that knowledge. Gave me a few nightmares, that did.
Thanks for letting me know.
Thanks for letting me know that, yeah. But everybody has a spirit guide. Everybody is watched over. Maybe not all the time. They're not there at your beck and call, but our loved ones do exist after death. We don't go anywhere. We just go into a different realm, so to speak. I think it was John Lennon that said, "I'm not afraid of death. It's just like getting out of one car and getting into another one."
Is this what kind of we were talking about astral projection?
Mm-hmm.
Is this something that like brought you into, like, is this a situation that opened the door for you?
With astral projection, there was a situation. I'm laughing. In my early 20s, I had gone to bed and was fast asleep. And then it was early in the morning. I woke up to find myself standing next to the bed. And I felt really strange. And it was like daylight was just breaking. It was just dawn time. But I felt really weird, and I realised that I was twisted round, the top half of me was twisted round about 180 degrees and bent over backwards. And I was also in bed at the same time, and my heads were touching. There was two of us. And I was kind of like head to head with this prone figure in the bed while I was standing up. And I'm thinking, this doesn't feel right. There's something going on here. And then suddenly I felt, while I was trying to work out what to do, I blacked out and passed out. And then a few hours later, I woke up again with a banging headache, because I don't think, well, we all astral project in our sleep, and it's a very natural thing. And when we're asleep, we go off, our astral body leaves the physical body and goes off and meets with ancestors, spirit guides. You go do learning, do what you want, but we tend not to remember it, and we tend not to wake up in the middle of it, you see. So when I had this experience, I did some reading up on it, and I thought I'm going to go and try and find out more about it. So I went along to, I found this chap called Arthur, who was a teacher in like occult subjects and numerology. He was a healer and things. He's passed away now, bless him. And I went to his night school, and we did. They taught us how to do astral projection when you're awake, instead of 4:00 in the morning when you're having a nice snooze. And basically, I won't go into the full details because my guides have told me I'm not allowed to, because if you're going to do it, if anybody wants to do it, you've got to go and learn properly, not just get half the instructions, if you know what I mean. But the basic thing is you sit quietly, and you have to locate where your consciousness is in your body, and then you lift it up to your head chakra, your top chakra, and you can leave the body that way. Okay. And it's a safe thing to do because you're always connected to your body. Some people say it's via silver cord, but there's a thread that attaches your subtle body, your astral body, to your physical body at all times. So unless you actually physically die, you're always tied to your body. You can't get free of it, and you can pop back into your body again. But so I went along. We started learning how to do this, and it was quite interesting. The first time I did it, I had there was a lady I was working with as a partner. She went first, and she flew off and landed on the roof and scared some pigeons apparently next door. And then I had a go. And what I didn't know is, while I was doing it, I had my eyes shut, and she had her hand over the top of my head. And she felt me shoot out the top of my head and then bounce back off her hand into my body again. Because when I got out there, I went, oh, I don't know about this. And I kind of panicked and went back again. And then the second time I said, okay, I'm going to try it again. So I tried it again. And I got out onto the astral planes. And I'm in this place, and it's all kind of misty and stuff. And I'm thinking, I'm really here. This is, very unusual. I'm used to having different experiences, but this was a first, you know. And I could see these lights kind of like dancing around in front of me, like through the mist. It was a bit like sort of layers of gauze kind of hanging and just kind of very, very wispy, you know.
Oh, wow.
But I saw these lights, and I'm like peering at these lights, and then as I'm moving forward, I see these two big things, and I'm like, what are those? Are they like pillars or something? Anyway, so kind of floating towards these things, and then I realised that they're actually feet, very big feet, okay, and they've got big claws on them, and I'm like. And I could just see the feet. There's obviously something attached to the feet, but I could just see the feet. And it sort of clears, and I can see more. And I can see these really big, sort of chunky legs. I'm going, okay. And it's a statue, obviously, you know. And it, as it started to evaporate away, I could see like a scaly body. And I'm like, what am I seeing here? And it parted. It was like a dragon. Is the closest thing I've ever seen in book that I could relate to it. You know, because obviously dragons don't exist in our world anyway. But it looked like a dragon.
That's the one thing you can't check off your book.
Yeah, that's the one thing I can't check on book on this side. But yeah, so we don't have dragons here. But what I was seeing looked very much like a dragon, like a statue of a dragon, until its feet started moving, and it started sort of like twitching its claws. And I'm looking at this thing, I'm thinking, this isn't a statue. So, I have to admit it, I ran. It started moving, and I shot straight back into my body out of there. But yeah, astral projection is a very fascinating process, but you need to learn to do it properly, under you know, advisement and stuff if you want to track yourself while you're awake. But we all do it in our sleep. And most people sort of pass it off. If you have a very lucid, vivid dream, they, oh, it was just a dream. But maybe it wasn't, you know. I mean, I once had one astral traveling thing I did once was a very memorable. I astral traveled during my sleep state, and I found myself in it was a very boring looking room, nothing in there apart from one big old fashioned green telephone. I remember looking at this sort of sage green telephone. The phone rang. My father had died a few years previous to this. And I picked up the phone, and my dad was on the phone.
Oh, wow.
And I remember saying to him, you know, like if you dream of somebody that's passed away,
Yeah.
in the dream, they haven't passed away. They're alive, aren't they? Obviously, you dream about your grandparents or your great-grandparents or whatever. But in the dream, they're still alive. They haven't died. But in this dream, I picked up the phone and went, hi, Dad, I know you're dead, but it's great to talk to you. And so I knew in this projection that, you know, my father passed away, but I was still speaking to him. Anyway, so we had a conversation for about 5 minutes about, you know, I'd seen my website, I was doing the book I was writing, and, you know, very proud of you and blah, blah, blah and stuff. And then he went, oh, just a minute, I've got to go, but I've got a message for your mum. And I went, okay. And he showed me a photograph, showed me this portrait of a flower, and it was a very long, tall flower. And it's kind of like a purpley blue colour.
Okay.
And then as soon as he showed me that, I sat up in bed. I went, oh, that was real. And I saw that for the next half hour, I'm thinking, do I ring my mum up and tell her about this dream, you know, or this astral projection? So anyway, I ring my mum up and I say, yeah, how are you, by the way? I say, I've had a visit from Dad in you know, last night. And he says he's got a message for you. She went, oh, yeah. Like she was waiting for something. And so, well, he showed me this flower. And she said, what sort of flower? I said, well, it was very, I was trying to remember. I said, it's very tall and it was kind of bluey purpley and stuff and things. And she said, could it have been an iris? And I went, yes, that's it. It was a blue iris. And she said, I'll tell you something now. She said, a couple of weeks ago, I was looking out of the front of the house, out the window, she says, and I was thinking about your dad. And I said out loud, you've got a daughter that's clairvoyant and you haven't sent any messages to me. If you can, I won't tell her. She never told me this. But she says, we'll keep it as our secret. But if you can possibly get a message to me, let's make it. And she looked out the window and there was a patch of irises growing. She said, let's make it blue iris.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And since then, she went to an antique shop and she came across an old piece of stained glass. of a blue iris. So she's now got that hanging next to the window where she looked out in memory of my dad.
That's a beautiful story.
Yeah, it was quite surprising when she told me that. So, we astral projection's a natural thing that, we can induce ourselves, but you need to know what you're doing to do it. That's what I'd say. But it's a great process, and it's something that anybody can do.
So I want to ask, like, when you are projecting, right?
Yeah.
Does it feel like you're you out there just in another world, or does it feel like more of a lucid dream?
It's funny because the first time I felt like I was in my body and in the astral as well at the same time.
Okay.
So yeah, I said yes, but different is the way I can describe it. Yes, it does feel like you, but yes, it does feel a bit different. Yeah, it's almost like a vibrational frequency that it feels different. Yeah, I mean, it feels lighter for one thing, but I've not noticed any pain when I'm in the astral as well, things like that. So yeah, it's very similar but a little bit different is the best way I can describe it.
So it's one, the other, and both at the same time.
Yeah, just to be awkward.
Now, I have a friend who she has a podcast as well, and she kind of put a poll out. She wants to learn. The whole premise of her series is psychics and mediums, and she wanted to learn some kind of gift, during this time. And the poll had came back that everybody wanted her to learn astral projection. So what tips would you have for somebody who was trying to start, somebody trying to learn it?
Research. So read all you can before you do it. If you can find, a lot of it's word of mouth. So if you can find somebody in the community where you live that does like teaches like regressive hypnosis and astral projection and things, that would be a great place to start as well. But do your background research first. The other thing as well is when you're doing it, turn off your phones, unplug the house phone, stick a sign on the door saying please don't knock, because there is dangers with doing it consciously. Okay, it can shock the astral body. So the main thing is not to sort of like wake somebody up really quickly, or you don't want the phone ringing while you're trying to do this.
What could happen?
Well, you can just shake the body up a bit. It's when you're in sleep state, it's like a natural thing, but you just want to be more calm. Meditation's another great way of doing it to get to that point. But just laboratory conditions is the best way to do it. Nice and quiet on your own, and no distractions. That's the best thing.
So I know we've been talking about like astral projection. Like, how does that tie in to past lives?
Well, some people tend to use astral projection techniques to try and look at past lives, because when you're on the astral, you can travel to different places and points in time as well as space. So you can go back and ask when you're doing the projection that to be shown a past life, or elements of a past life. And you can do that through meditation as well. That's one way of doing it. You basically take yourself down a corridor and to a doorway, and as you open the door, you ask on the astral that you will see elements of your past life, and you can also get the same thing as well through regressive hypnosis as well, which will help to take you back. Yeah. And I once actually, being from Yorkshire, we like a bargain, you see. Well known for liking a bargain. And I went to a demonstration once on past lives and regression. And the guy was on stage in his full white suit. He looked like Ricardo Montalban, from Fantasy Island. And he's standing there in his white shoes and his white suit and stuff, and he's talking away. And he says, tonight I will need a volunteer from the audience to do this demonstration. So my hand went straight up because I'd seen the prices he was charging for doing it privately. So I thought, I'm going to have this. And
that's smart.
So anyway,
that's smart.
I went up on stage, and we did the we did the regression to the past life. And I have to say, it was a very unusual experience because I hadn't been hypnotized before. But he said what he'd do was I was hypnotized so I would be fully aware of what was going on, so I could actually experience the past lives at the same time that the audience was hearing what was going on. So what I was seeing in my head or in the past life, I could also see with my conscious self. And I was very surprised because as he took me through the meditation and the hypnosis and took me down these stairs, and I had to go over to a well and look in this well basically and see what reflection I saw. And I thought, well, I'm just going to see myself, aren't I, looking out? So, okay, I'll do what you say, but I don't feel at all hypnotized. I'm going over to this well, and I look over it, and there's this other woman staring back at me, she's got like a blue dress on and a wimple on her head, like sort of medieval type thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, how do you get there? And anyway, we went through. That was one of the lives that we went through, and it's funny because a lot of the lives that I've experienced before, are linked to this one by being a healer or being like the village wise woman, and different lives I've had. They're all linked to sort of psychic and clairvoyance, and they all seem to be joined together, if that makes sense. But in that one, I was actually in France. I was sitting in a castle, in a stone cold castle with horrible cold walls in France.
Oh.
And I hated it. I was sitting there, and it turned out I was a healer, and I was there following the battles. And the next thing, he jumped the hypnotist. He jumped me along to the next part of the life. And I remember I was kneeling down this mud in this field, and I hated it. And all I can see in front of me, there's this wound on this chap who'd had a lance through his leg. And I was putting this poultice stuff in his leg and messing around with his leg and stuff, trying to heal him. And I can hear the hypnotist over my shoulder saying, well, what can you see? And where are you now? And tell the audience what you can see. And I'm thinking, I just want to tell you to shut up because I'm busy. It's horrible here. I hate it. Go away. Leave me alone. Let me get on my job. But it was like having almost a split personality, because you're experiencing the past life as a real moment, but you're also aware that you're sitting on a wooden chair in a hall somewhere with like 60 people watching you on stage. So it's very strange. But then he jumped me into another life, and when he jumped me, it was interesting because I was actually falling through the air as I jumped, and I fell.
Oh.
And I started screaming on the stage and holding my knee, and I cut my knee open. And I was a little orphan boy. I looked around, and it looked like London from the Blitz. And I had a shirt on. It was white and filthy, and a pair of short trousers. And there was all these little kids running around in rubble. And it was a bombed out area somewhere. But I just couldn't stop crying because I'd cut my knee open, and I was only a little kid in the projection, So he had to jump me along to an next life. To get me to the only way he could stop me from crying on the stage. Oh. So I was a bit embarrassed. I hope nobody ever videoed that one. But it's very interesting researching your past lives as well, because you can find out things about this life from it. I had a lady, because I can, one of the things I offer for clients is I can do a past life reading for them. Basically what I do is I can tune into the spirit world and access their past lives and report back on it, if that makes sense, and do like a report on certain areas and things. And one of my friends in America, a lady called Cassandra, first time I met her, she got in touch with me saying, I'd love a past life reading. And I did this reading for her. And I said, it's very strange, but I know people want to hear there's somebody famous or whatever, or I was Cleopatra and things. But she was assistant to Florence Nightingale, is what I got.
Well, that's cool.
She was a nurse. Yeah, she was like second in command to Florence Nightingale. And anyway, she wrote back to me and she got in touch and she said, it's very funny because you're the second person to tell me that. And I thought, well, it must be true then, But you might not have famous past lives. You're more likely to be a soldier or working on a farm or something. I mean, I was the wife of a woodsman working in a wood. I remember opening my eyes in this past life experience and seeing. I laughed out loud because I had a hedgehog sitting on my knee, and I was in this little cottage, and I had an apron on. I was about 70 years old, I would say, wearing an apron and a pinny, and with a hedgehog sitting on my knee. And I looked up at the doorway, and there was a deer walking past slowly, and it just looked through and looked at me, and then carried on. And I could hear somebody chopping wood in the background, and I knew that I was a healer of the animals in the forest, and I'd help all the creatures and stuff, which I've done my fair share of that. I've raised birds and different things that I found, wild injured birds and things. But in that life, it was based around the woodlands, and it's very interesting. Parts of one life will bleed into another.
How many past lives do you think you've had?
More than 2, less than 500, I would say.
Because it sounds like you jumped into several.
I've got a very strong affinity with like Egypt, and I'm sure I've had a past life in ancient Egypt. But I don't know how far back and how many. But I know I've had a Wild West one, and I know I've had a medieval 2 or 3. So I've experienced elements from I would say about 8 or 10 different lives.
Wow.
That I can remember bits of. But everybody has them, and it's interest in one life tend to bleed into the next one as well. So if you're an avid reader, you might have been a writer in the past one. It's one lady I had came to me. I did a past life reading for her, and she was in the First World War, and I got it. She was terribly disfigured. There was an explosion, and she lost part of her face. Survived it, but or the gentleman that she was in the past life, because you can change sex as well between lives. You're not always male or female. You can switch between.
Okay.
And she'd been a male in the First World War and had an explosion, and a sentry had gone off in her face, and she lost part of her face but survived it.
Wow.
But she was badly disfigured. And she said, "I'll tell you something now." She says, "I have an absolute fear of my microwave oven." She says, "I have fear, but anywhere I go near it, I have a fear it's going to explode in my face." And she's to a point where she was really phobic about it. And I thought, well, there you are. It's coming through from the past life. She had no reason to know why, but
That definitely makes sense. That's kind of scary.
Yeah. So I mean, people with like severe phobias sometimes can or severe phobia of water. I mean, if they do some regressive hypnosis, they might find that they actually drowned in a past life, and it can ease the phobia in this life because it makes sense. There is a reason for it. It's not like I've just got like this strange phobia.
Oh, so what you're saying is the people that are afraid of clowns.
I hate them.
It's because of a past life.
Yeah. Yeah, had a bad time at the circus when they were little. Actually, I once had to be dragged from the circus because I was screaming when the clowns came on. I wouldn't stop crying. Oh. And I was only 25 as well. But anything in the past life can affect on this level as well. But I once spoke to a lady, and she was another girl that was in the class when I did the Astral Projection, actually. And she thought that in a past life, she was born with only one arm in this life. And she said she'd done some past regression things with past lives. And she was, in the old days, in a medieval, I think it was France or Italy, I can't remember what it was now. But she was an archer and she was having to pick off people from the top of this parapet.
Oh, wow.
And she was ordered to kill all these innocent people, and she wasn't very happy about it at the time, apparently. And she strongly believes that she lost that arm because she didn't want to do that again. It's just a bit strong, but but that was her belief, that's what she was born without the arm, because she'd been through such a traumatic experience in her last, in a previous life, that she wouldn't let herself be put in that situation again.
Now, what do you think the most accurate or best way to find out your past lives? Because, there's the astral projection, the hypnosis, you say you do past life readings.
Yeah.
Is there a more accurate way or an easier way?
Each way is different. I won't say there's an easy way. I mean, you can get somebody like myself to do a reading for you. I mean, that's one way. You just sit back and wait for it to come to you. But what I would suggest, if somebody's really interested, is try always, because there is you can get the correlation between different ones. Like my friend who was the nurse to Florence Nightingale. Uh-huh. Her assistant, she'd had 2 different methods. She had, 2 different places that she got the information from. So it was confirmation for her. So if you really want to find out, I'd say start yourself, do some research on the meditation to try looking at your past lives. And also the main thing is make notes, get a journal, write it down. If anybody's interested in doing any psychic development work or astral projection or anything in this field, the main thing is write it down, because you don't always remember the important bits. You can also see how far you've come.
Yeah.
And see your development. So, get a journal, get a nice book, get a nice book that you'll write in, get a nice pen, and start experimenting, start doing meditation. There's if you Google it, there's loads of guided meditations for doing past lives on the internet, and just start and write it down and see what you get.
Now, how can folks get up with you if they want to contact you? Can you do readings?
Yeah,
over the phone. I guess.
I can actually do readings of people without any information whatsoever from the other side of the world. I can. They can get in touch with me at www.jennypughpsychic.com, which is my website, or they can reach me on Twitter and Facebook at Jen Pugh Psychic, or Instagram I'm at Jenny Pugh Psychic. And because I'm clairvoyant, basically it doesn't matter where in the world you are. I can basically how it works is I tune into my spirit guides, they tune into your spirit guides, they pass the information over, and I download it. It's a bit like a psychic phone line, basically, and I'm the intermediary in the middle. But place, there's no object on place.
Now, can you help people? Let's say they want to astral project.
I could point them in the right direction for information.
Okay, that's not something you want to train somebody on?
Yeah, you need somebody that's physically, you need to be with the person. You need to go see somebody local if you actually want to learn from a person, But for readings and for past life, that's something I can do from a distance. That's easy. Well, I say easy, but it's, it's easy if you're clairvoyant.
And then your book is Why Do Angels Have Wings?
Yes, and the answer is in the book. Because it's towards the end of the book, so I'll keep you waiting, but the answer actually isn't there.
You don't want to give it away right at the first chapter.
No, it's not in the last chapter either, but it's definitely not in the first one. But the book is basically it's a memoir of my experiences over the years, because I've got about 45 years of working with spirit. So I've had a lot of fun and games over the years, ups and downs and unusual experiences, and a lot of helping people. Because the other thing I can do as well, I'm a psychic artist, so I can draw spirit. I can get them to come to me and do a sketch of them. And I can just tell you a quick story on that. Is that okay? Yeah. Basically, I used to carry around my little portfolio of portraits that I'd done. If I'd sit down and draw a portrait and I didn't know who it was for, a spirit portrait, I'd stick it in the book and take it with me. And when I went places, have a look through the book and see if there's anybody you recognise. And one night I was sitting watching another psychic work, and I was just sketching away while I was listening. And there was a lady sat next to me in this club, and I'd never met her before, never seen her before. And I heard a gasp, and I looked round, and she says, "That's my daughter." I said, "Pardon?" She says, "You're drawing my daughter."
Oh, wow.
That died in an arson. It was an arson attack on the house and killed her daughter, unfortunately.
Wow.
And when we got over the shock, and I gave her the picture to look at, and I spoke to her and stuff, I said, "Have a look through the book." and she found a son in there as well who'd also died. This little cherubic chap with big cheeks and smiley face. So the way spirit works is, I didn't know I was going to meet their mother at that event. I didn't know when I drew those pictures that, that I would meet her. I just put them in the book. I also have faith in spirit that they give me the information at the time for a reason, and if it's not for that moment, it'll turn up. So she went away with those 2 pictures, knowing that her kids were well in spirit, because what I could tell her was that they didn't suffer the smoke. And it's an awful thing, but they'd passed away before the fire reached them. The from smoke inhalation, and I could confirm that to her. You see, because that's what she was worried about.
Oh yeah.
But I said that they went in their sleep. They didn't know anything about it, and they just woke up in spirit on the other side. Because when I was doing the drawings, I started to feel woozy, and I was like falling under the table, and it was I was feeling the effects of the smoke inhalation. So she was very surprised, but very happy to know that I proved to her that they hadn't suffered whatsoever.
It also helps if you're a good artist, because I'm thinking, like, if this was me, as you were talking, I'm like putting myself in that situation. I don't see anybody coming up to one of my stick figure drawings and being like, that's my little girl.
Well, there's some of my drawings, spirit drawings on the website as well, if anybody wants to have a look, but and on my social media. But it's a nice thing to be able to do, though, to reassure people. I mean, that's what I'm here for, is to get over to people, the reassurance that we do live on after death. Death is not a thing. It's basically, it's like going into another room for something and forgetting to go back again. We still exist in the same space, and your loved ones out away on a fluffy cloud somewhere. They're here with you, and we're all just continue, because we're energy at the end of the day, and you cannot destroy energy. It just transmutes into something else. But we live on, and on and on and on,
and on and on and on,
and on and on and on. Until
Jenny,
finally we get it right.
Jenny, thank you so much for coming on the show. Very
pleasure.
fascinating. Very fascinating stuff.
Thank you.
We're going to have you back on, obviously, at some point, just to dig a little deeper into some of this. And I
would really enjoy that. Thank you very much, John.
And I've really enjoyed this, so thank you very much.
My pleasure. I'm glad I enjoyed it too. The time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, I was just looking at the clock. I was like, oh, man, okay, we better... So you have a great night, and I appreciate you.
Thank you, John, and thank you for having me on. I really appreciated it. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And with that, the fire is out. Thank you so much, Jenny. Thank all of you for listening. I do want to remind you, we do have the Patreon, so after the interview with our guests, we have a behind-the-scenes interview that goes on for a little bit longer, and that's available on our Patreon, patreon.com/Fireside Paranormal. I do have several tiers set up. The $1 tier gets you a Discord name drop and a bonus audio. The $3 tier is a name drop, a 1-inch sticker, access to the Discord, and 2 bonus audio. The $5 tier is a name drop, a 3-inch sticker, the Discord, and all bonus audio. We also have a $20 tier, which we call Join Me by the Fire. At that tier, we do a giveaway where the winner gets to join me on the show. Again, that is patreon.com/Fireside Paranormal. Make sure you check out all of our other social medias. Fireside Paranormal Hub on Facebook. We're on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and check out our website, firesideparanormal.com, where you can get your sweet, sweet, sweet Fireside merch. That is all the time we have for this week. Until next week, everybody, don't be afraid, only believe.